Hi, welcome to the short session on 5 laws of library science and their implications. The 5 laws of library science were enunciated by Dr. S.R. Ranganathan, the father of library science in India in 1928. It was first published in 1931. The 5 laws are: first law, books are for use. Second law, every reader and his or her book. Third law, every book and its reader. Fourth law, save the time of the reader. And fifth law, library is a growing organism. For the better understanding of the relevance and importance of these laws, the historical background of libraries has to be analyzed. Coming to the historical background, during the 15th and 16th centuries, libraries were closed access in all sense. The books on the shelves were fitted with brass frames and rings. Such chained books could not migrate from the shelves beyond the length of the chains. The shelves of the libraries were closed, and also the facilities of using these libraries were restricted to a privileged few belonging to aristocracy and upper class of the society. In light of this background, the relevance of these laws is to be analyzed. Now let's have a look at the interpretations and implications of each law. Coming to the first law, that is, books are for use. This law breaks the conventional concept about books. The then concept was books were for preservation. This law states that books are for use. Ranganathan suggests the following factors for maximizing the use of books. The implications of the first law, that is, for the first one among the implications is library location. In order to exploit the resources of libraries maximum, the location of library buildings is to be easily accessible. It should be located at the central place where it is convenient to reach. The users will be discouraged if they have to walk long distances to reach their libraries. At the same time, location should be free from noise and other disturbances so as to get better reading environment. If it is a public library, the location should be at the central area, such as near to the marketplace, near to religious centers, etc. If it is an academic library, it should be located at the center of the campus. The next implication is library hours. In order to maximize the use of libraries, the library hours should be convenient to its users. Before the advent of this law, libraries were more often closed than kept open. If it is a public library, it is to be kept open even on the holidays because users will be free from all other engagements and they will get more time to use library. If it is an academic library, library should be kept open during the lunch break also. Taking energy from this law, some big libraries remain open round the clock. The next implication is library building and furniture. The first law demands that proper attention should be given to the planning and designing of library buildings. The building should be functional and aesthetic. The furniture should also be convenient and attractive. The height of the bookshelves is to be reasonable. The height and size of the reading tables is to be sufficient. Enough gaps between racks is to be given. Proper ventilation and lights are also made available. In short, the exterior of libraries is to be inviting and the interior is to be attractive. The next implication is the library staff. For the fulfillment of the objectives of libraries, library staff should have certain qualifications and qualities so as to enable them to manage libraries efficiently and effectively. Personal qualities such as courtesy, helping mentality, and cheerfulness are essential for library staff. The modern interpretation of the first law is documents or information are for use. The implication of this law in the present context is the implementation of digital libraries. By introducing digital libraries, the problems of location, building and working hours can be eliminated because users can access digital libraries round the clock even sitting in their bedrooms. The second law is every reader and his or her book. The second law breaks the belief that books are for the chosen few and states that books are for all. If the first law, books are for use, was book oriented, the second law, every reader and his or her book is user-oriented. Every reader of libraries has to get his book. This law emphasizes the universalization and democratization of the library services. Coming to the implications of the second law. The second law imposes certain obligations to the government, library authority, the library staff and users. The first one among the obligations is the obligation to government. It is the responsibility of government to develop a library system in a country so as to provide adequate library services to the people of the state. This can be fulfilled by adequate legislation which would ensure financial support to the library system. Library legislations will help only to develop public library system in a country, but public library system by itself is not adequate to develop a library culture in a country. An academic library system is also to be cultivated. The second obligation is that of the obligation to library authority. Obligation to library authorities is related with the collection of library stock and recruitment of staff. According to the second law, each reader has to get justice from the part of libraries. Proper book selection is to be done on the basis of user studies. This has to be done judiciously so that the available funds are utilized for the purchase of the most relevant and wanted books. A good collection by itself will not fulfill the objectives of libraries. The staffs of libraries should have certain qualities and qualifications because the staff are the mediators between books and users. In order to make a sound connection between these two elements, the staff should have some personal qualities such as courtesy, helping mentality and cheerfulness. The third obligation is the obligation to library staff. The second law emphasizes the importance of reference service. A reference service is to help reader how to use books as a tool and libraries as workshops. The role of reference staff is a mediator between books and users, so they must know both the details of reading materials and the readers of their libraries. The fourth obligation, that is the obligation to library users. Library users also have certain responsibilities cast on them by the second law. It particularly wants them to observe library rules in respect of loan and use of books. If a reader retains a book beyond the period of loan, he is depriving other readers who may want to use the book. There are readers who misplace books with a view to monopolize their use, tear off pages from books and even steal books. The result is a gross violation of the second law. The readers should be made conscious of the consequences of such acts through a program of instruction in library use or user education, as it is now commonly referred to. The second law strongly advocates user education programs in libraries. The next one is resource sharing. In the present day context, no single library could think of organizing library services entirely based on its own collection. It has, to a certain extent, depend on resources external to its collections. The reason for this dependency is the rising cost of books and journals, the growing pressures on library space and the cost of processing and maintaining large collections. In essence, these factors call for effective cooperation among different libraries. This is an important step in the direction of satisfying the second law. Coming to the modern interpretation of the second law, the modern interpretation of the second law is every user and his or her information. The modern implication of this law is the application of modern computerized current awareness and SDI services. The RTI Act enacted by Government of India in 2005 can be treated as one of the implications of this law. Now let's have a look over the third law, that is every book and its reader. The third law stands for the maximum use of books by their readers. Every book in libraries should have a chance of finding its appropriate reader and of being used by him. Appropriate techniques are to be taken to publicize library books since the books are mute. The implications of the third law, the first one is that of the open access. The best method to satisfy the third law is to introduce open access system. According to open access system, users are given freedom to see and examine the book collection with as much freedom as in one's own library. Here, readers are permitted to wander among the books and lay his hands on any of them at his will and pleasure. In order to maintain the open access system smoothly, both staff and users have certain responsibilities and obligations vested on them. The obligation on the staff is to maintain the shelf accordance with the class numbers. The obligation on the users is not to replace and misplace the books. The second one is that of the list of new additions. List of books newly added to libraries should be regularly compiled and exhibited separately. The new addition list is to be placed at the entrance of libraries so as to get the attention of users. The next one is that of the display of new books. Newly added books are to be exhibited separately in a shelf and which is to be placed at the entrance of libraries. It will help to inform the users the availability of the books in the libraries. The next one is that of the library catalogue. Library catalogue is a tool to locate library resources. So, the library catalogues are to be prepared on all possible searchable terms such as author, title and subject. The next one is that of book exhibition. Periodical exhibition of books will make a chance of books to find their readers. It can be done as part of special occasions. For example, the books related with the environment, pollution and ecology can be exhibited during the World Environment Day observation. The sixth one, that is the current awareness service. The service by which newly generated information is brought to the notice of library users in the shortest possible time is known as current awareness service. Journal circulation, documentation bulletin, research in progress bulletin and newspaper clipping service are some of the methods of current awareness service. This is also one of the implications of the third law, that is, every book and its reader. Coming to the modern interpretation of the third law, the new interpretation is every document or information of its user. Introduction of library websites and use of the Web 2.0 components such as social networks and blogs are the implications of this law. Through websites, the web opaque and the list of new additions can be given. Libraries can develop blogs and become member in social networks to publicize its services. Coming to the fourth law, that is, save the time of the reader. The fourth law states that users of the libraries will be given high consideration. Their time is to be saved by giving the services with minimum possible time. Users coming into the libraries are busy people and they should not be made to wait longer than necessary to get their information needs met. If users feel a sense of waste of time, they are likely to keep away from libraries. Next is the implications of the fourth law. The first one is that of open access. The fourth law strongly opposes the methods of closed access and recommends the open access systems. According to closed access, users are not allowed to enter the stack rooms. They are advised to prepare a list of books they want after consulting library catalogues and hand over it to library staff. After searching in the concerned shelves, either user will get the book or he will get the slip back with the remark, entry incorrect or book on loan or book is under binding. If the latter happens, the users will have to undergo the old process again to get another book. Open access is a solution to this problem, where users are allowed to enter the stack rooms and they can select their relevant titles. If the intended book is unseen, they can select the next best for their needs. Thus, users can save their valuable time. The second one, that is of charging system. The fourth law has completely revolutionized the slow, cumbersome and complex charging and discharging systems. It discourages the charging systems such as daybook system, ledger system, dummy system and temporary slip system due to their long process time. This law encourages the charging systems such as Brownie charging systems, Navak charging system and computerized charging system due to their ease and short process time. The third one, that is of classification and cataloguing. Classification is a process of transferring the subject of a document into an artificial language of ordinal numbers. Proper classification would bring together books on a specific subject and also related books. This helps users to locate books without wasting their time. Catalogue is a tool to locate library resources. So, the library catalogues are to be prepared on all possible searchable terms such as author, title and subject. This also helps users to locate their resources easily. The fourth one, that is exhibition of guides and boards. Libraries should provide sufficient guides to help users to reach their respective locations without personal help. Proper boards are to be placed before each section such as reference section, periodical section, stack room and reprographic section. The modern interpretation of the fourth law is save the time of the information users. Application of modern information and communication technologies for library and information services is the implication of this law. And the last and fifth law is library is a growing organism. The fifth law states that library is a growing organism. It is a biological fact that a growing organism alone will survive. The fifth law states that the library as an institution has all the attributes of a growing organism. Ranganathan recognizes two kinds of growth such as child growth and adult growth. In a living organism, the growth is of two kinds, that is child growth and adult growth. Child growth is chiefly characterized by growth in physical dimensions and is fast and visible. But in the case of adults, the growth is mainly in the nature of replacement of cells. It is a kind of internal qualitative change and growth that may not be visible. Ranganathan examines both types of growth in libraries. The basic components of a library are reading materials, staff, users and physical infrastructure such as building and furniture. In order to fulfill the fifth law, all basic components of libraries should be grown proportionally. For example, if users of libraries are increasing, sufficient reading materials, staff and buildings should be increased. If any one of the above factors only increases, it is not a characteristic of living organism and it is called handicapped or physically challenged. Next is the implications of fifth law. The first one is growth in library reading material. According to the fifth law, the reading material of a library will keep on increasing. In the initial stage, the growth of the book stock would be fast as a child grows. This has its impact on the sizes of the stack room, catalogue cabinet and the number of bookshelves accommodating the books. The coming year, there will be slight growth only compared to initial growth. The second one is that of the growth in number of users. The fifth law states that the number of users will keep on increasing. The growth in the number of users impacts on the size of reading room, the issue method and certain safeguards. The third one is growth in number of staff. Corresponding to the increase in book collection and number of readers, new services will have to be introduced. Depending on the nature and interest of users, the services will also have to be diversified. There will be quantitative increase in administrative work and qualitative diversification of services. These would necessitate an increase of staff at different levels, both in the quantitative and qualitative sense. The fourth one is that of reading out of resources. Reading out of resources is a supplement to the first implication, that is growth in library resources. Reading out of resources is similar to the adult growth. As new cells come, the old shells will die. Similarly, the old, unused, damaged, outdated and irrelevant resources are to be weeded out from the library stock as new, relevant and useful resources come to library stock. The weeded out resources may be kept separately, anticipating the rare use. Coming to the modern interpretation of the fifth law, the modern interpretations of fifth law are information system is a growing organism and its implication is the modernization of libraries. This means not only the computerization of various housekeeping operations, but also introduction of latest ICT applications suitable for information dissemination. Application of Web 2.0 components such as social networking and blogging will also come under this category. Now let's summarize the whole session. Here an attempt has been made to explain the 5 laws of library science enunciated by S.R. Ranganathan. Along with the laws, the implications of each laws and their interpretations in the present age has been described. Even though the laws were enunciated in the 1930s, the relevance and importance of these laws still exist with its full spirit. These 5 laws constitute the basic philosophy of library science and librarianship. Before we move to the next session, please try to answer the following questions. First one, briefly point out the implications of 5 laws of library science on digital libraries. Second one, which of the 5 laws necessitates the library legislation? The third one, how does closed access system become the contradiction to the 5 laws of library science? Next we have the references. The first one is Library and Society by Khanna, published by SS Publications, New Delhi in 1987. The second one, Foundations of Library and Information Science by PSG Kumar, published by BRPC Limited, New Delhi in 2003. The third one, The 5 Laws of Library Science by S.R. Ranganathan, published by Sarada Ranganathan Endowment for Library Science in 1988. Hope this session has provided you with much knowledge about the 5 laws of library science. We will come back with another session. Until then, goodbye.